No one is more successful in the world of luxury goods than Bernard Arnault. I mean, you already know about Louis Vuitton. Want to know about Arnault building up his empire and becoming one of the world's richest men? Stay with us till the end to find out, cause trust us, this family's story is nothing short of amazing. To begin, Bernard Jean-Etienne Arnault is a fashion tycoon, which kind of explains why he started the fashion company. But is that the real reason? What got him there? According to Forbes, Arnault and his family had a net worth of $159 billion in October 2022, making him the world's second richest person and the richest in Europe. Damn, that's a lot. Due to his luxury business LVMH's pandemic-defying success, Arnault's fortune has increased dramatically from $76 billion in March 2020 to $186.3 billion. He's had a tremendous growth of over $110 billion in the previous 14 months. However, the COVID-19 travel interruption that lasted more than a year had a massive impact on consumer expenditure. But soon enough, that changed and the world reopened and people started spending money on status symbols to demonstrate their affluence to their friends, family, and coworkers in real life. Early in 2021, the demand for luxury products in China, in particular, soared, which contributed to revenue records and a buying frenzy in LVMH stock. The market cap of LVMH, which also owns well-known brands like Fendi, Christian Dior, and Givenchy, increased by 0.4% in the opening hours of trading, bringing it to $320 billion. This increase also increased Arnault's individual take by more than $600 million. Imagine being rich enough to own Louis Vuitton, TAG Heuer, and Dom Perignon. Yep, those are just some of the few well-known brands that Arnault has amassed over the course of 4 mighty decades. Building a family-run company that has led to the third largest fortune in the world, Arnault has his 5 children along the way. Arnault has crossed paths with some of the world's most powerful individuals, both in and outside the fashion industry. He was said to be close with Steve Jobs, the founder of Apple. And guess what? Even Steve Jobs thinks this guy got skills. Jobs once said to Arnault, "You know, Bernard, I don't know if in 50 years my iPhone will be a success, but I can tell you, I'm sure everybody will still drink your Dom Perignon." His words truly show the potential Jobs saw in Bernard. Don't y'all want to know the story of how Bernard Arnault made his money? He studied engineering at École Polytechnique, one of France's most esteemed universities. After receiving his degree, Arnault started working for Ferret-Savinel, his father's construction business. He changed the company's name to Financiere Agache and started a turnaround by reducing expenses and selling off some of its operations. During his leadership, the corporation changed its focus to real estate before buying a textile firm. Together with Antoine Bernheim, general partner of the French park Lazard Frères and Co., Arnault raised the $80 million required to buy the Saint-Frères, a failing textile company that held the Christian Dior design label, along with $15 million of his own funds. After realizing that his mother had a fascination with Christian Dior, he bought the company, getting the moniker The Terminator. Oh, imagine loving your mom so much you did that for her. Well, he then let go of 9,000 people and sold out the majority of the company's assets over the course of the next 2 years, keeping just the Dior name in Le Bon Marche department store. After this, he continuously focused on LVMH Mott Hennessy. Louis Vuitton, investing $2.6 billion to buy shares and become the world's largest shareholders in the business by 1989. Later, he was named the chairman and CEO of the company. In the 1980s, Arnault came up with the concept of assembling luxury brands. In order to create a holding company with Guinness that had 24% of LVMH's shares, Arnault contributed $1.5 billion in July 1988. He spent an additional $500 million in January 1989 to acquire 43.5% of LVMH's shares and 35% of its voting rights, obtaining the blocking minority necessity to stop LVMH Group from being broken up. Then he turned on Racamier, dismissed him, and kicked him off the board. On January 13, 1989, he was unanimously chosen to serve as the Executive Management Board's chairman. After being appointed CEO, Arnault led the business through an ambitious development plan, turning it into one of the biggest luxury conglomerates in the world. Crazy, but also inspiring, isn't it? The LVMH group includes a lot of brands. This includes apparel manufacturers like Marc Jacobs and Loewe, cosmetics manufacturers like Fenty Beauty and Tiffany & Co., jewelry manufacturers like Bulgari and Tiffany & Co., and producers of wine and alcoholic beverages like Ardbeg and Krug. Additionally, it has a retail presence to a number of boutiques, which provides it with a helpful sales channel. On top of this, it owns a luxury boat maker and has several high-end hotels. Arnault is an expert on all things opulent and is well acquainted with his customers. They have high standards for the caliber of products and services since they're wealthy people. By giving them exactly what they required, he built a luxury empire that contributed to him becoming one of the world's richest people. In just 11 years, LVMH's market value climbed by a factor of 15, while its annual sales and profits increased by a factor of 5. Man, he must have felt good achieving that. Salim was bought by Arnault in July 1988. The following year, he sponsored Christian Lacroix, a French fashion designer, to help the business advertise its high-end apparel line. Berluti and Kenzo were acquired by LVMH in 1993, the same year that Arnault bought La Tribune, a French business journal. Guerlain, a manufacturer of perfumes, was bought by LVMH in 1994. In 1996, Arnault bought Loewe, and then in 1997, he bought Marc Jacobs and Sephora. In addition to the group, gained the inclusion of 5 additional labels in 1999 with Thomas Pink, 2000 with Emilio Pucci, and 2001 with Fendi, DKNY, and La Samaritaine. After this decade-long process, in the summer of 2005, Arnault debuted among the top 10 richest Europeans with a fortune of $13 billion. Arnault was well known in Europe as the person who, in 1995, appointed British fashion designer John Galliano to succeed the venerable Hubert de Givenchy as the latter's partisans' fashion house. Galliano's appointment was credited with reviving French couture. After a year, Arnault, dubbed the Pope of Fashion by Women's Wear Daily, relocated Galliano to Christian Dior and took Alexander McQueen, a flamboyant British fashion designer, in his place at Givenchy. The following year, Louis Vuitton, a manufacturer of high-end leather goods, purchased a controlling ownership in young American designer Marc Jacobs' eponymous label, and Arnault promoted him to the position of creative director. Even though all 3 of the designers subsequently departed their jobs, Arnault's fashion sense had been, had somewhat of a rekindled interest in these established fashion firms. On March 7, 2011, Arnault announced the purchase of 50.4% of the family-owned shares of the Italian jeweler Bulgari, with the intention of making a tender offer for the remaining publicly owned shares. The transaction was valued at $5.2 billion. The next year, young American designer Marc Jacobs' namesake label was acquired by high-end leather goods maker Louis Vuitton, and Arnault elevated them to the role of creative director. Despite the fact that all 3 designers ultimately left their positions, Arnault had a sense of style that, by that point, reignited the interest in well-known fashion houses. With the goal of mounting a tender offer for the remaining publicly held shares, Arnault stated on March 7, 2011 that he had acquired 50.4% of the family-owned shares of the Italian jewelry company Bulgari. That deal had a $5.2 billion price tag. Arnault successfully led the company to record sales of 42.6 billion euros in 2017, an increase of 13% over the previous year, with strong results across all divisions by January 2018. As of May 2021, LVMH had a market capitalization of 313 billion euros, making it the largest company in the Eurozone. Not one, but he ended up making the one. The one. The growth was entirely facilitated by Arnault. Arnault has promoted decentralizing the group's brand as a business strategy. Nevertheless, these measures enabled the perception of LVMH brands like Tiffany as independent businesses with unique histories. When it comes to family life, Arnault was raised in a household where his father, Jean, was a prosperous individual with resources and money and ran a successful company. Obviously, Arnault grew up watching this, making him a similar sort of dad. Arnault was married twice. He's a father to 5 grown children, out of which 4 of them, Delphine, Antoine, Alexandre, and Frederic, runs the family business along with their father. Bernard Arnault is a living illustration of the importance of taking chances and changing the situation for the better in both life and business. Because of the size of the company's acquisitions and ongoing success, Bernard Arnault, the executive of luxury's greatest conglomerate, and the luxury business LVMH have left a permanent mark on the fashion industry. People are and inspire to be like him someday. But as the saying goes, Rome wasn't built in a day. We can see that all throughout Arnault's life, he had so much to go through to reach where he's at right now. Did y'all enjoy the video? Share your thoughts with us and about the GOAT in the comment section below. The GOAT is me. GOAT noises.